everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is MTG Guldoon. Today I wanted to bring up a couple spoilers I seen the last couple of days that kind of piqued my interest, and a few that actually reminded me of some other cards. But before we get into that, I wanted to share with you guys a little bit of information. If you didn't know, we finally hit 200 subscribers. So thank you guys so much for doing what you do and subscribing. If you didn't know, we're there. We made it. If you yep, we that's I mean, I can't so many things I want to say, but thank you guys so much. And I also wanted to point out one other very important thing, and this is important just probably just to me, but if you didn't know, me and a friend of mine, another content creator, have been kind of battling it out trying to see who can keep the most subscribers, even though we're like small time YouTubers. That it really doesn't matter. But my good friend Stewie MTG has also got 202 subscribers. He's also passed the 200 mark. So if you haven't subscribed to his channel, go to his channel. He does all kinds of deck techs and stuff. Me and him have been playing arena together for a while. I mean, we've just been hanging out, just doing small time YouTuber stuff. But with all of that out of the way, we want to get into the spoilers. So let's go on ahead and start out with Lotus Ring. For 3 generic, it is an artifact equipment. It is indestructible. Equipped creature gets +3/+3 and has vigilance, and tap it, sacrifice this creature, add 3 mana of any one color. And it's equipped to 3. Now I'm not gonna lie. 3 mana gets +3/+3. That's 3 threes. Then the word 3, that's 4. And equip 3 is 5. That's pretty wild. That's a lot of threes on one card. But what do you guys think about the Lotus Ring, and does it seem like it's going to be powerful? I mean, to me, it doesn't seem like it's going to be busted, but 3 mana to equip a creature to sack it, tap it, and sack it. I mean, that's not bad. Because, I mean, if you have a bunch of creatures that have haste and have, E on death triggers, and you can bring them back when they die, well, I mean, it just kind of fits the theme. On to the next card, we have Esoteric Duplicator for 2 generic and a blue. This is an artifact clue. It's an artifact, but it has the clue type. Whenever you sacrifice Esoteric Duplicator or another artifact, you may pay 2. If you do at the beginning of the next end step, create a token that's a copy of that artifact, and then you can tap 2 and sacrifice it and draw a card. Now, to me, this is very, very powerful. I feel like this could go in so many artifact decks. Urza is gonna love this card because you sacrifice an artifact creature and you just get another copy of it. I mean, if somebody makes you sacrifice a a Blightsteel Colossus, you can just pay 2 and make a copy of it at the beginning of the next end step, which is pretty wild, to be honest, especially since sacrifice or exile is about the only way to get rid of artifacts like that. Especially if there's a way, especially if like you're playing the artifact deck that has like the Darksteel Forge and all of your artifacts are hexproof, stuff like that, where it gets tricky. And I mean, they can't do nothing but try to make you exile them or sacrifice them. So I see this as being very powerful. This kind of reminds me of Panoptic Mirror, but Panoptic Mirror is just like, it's kind of like just whenever you play it, but this is on the death end, so I'm excited to see where this goes. World Walker Helm for another 2 generic and a blue. It's an artifact. If you would create 1 or more artifact tokens, treasures, blood map. Instead, create those tokens plus an additional map token. This reminds me of very much of what's it called? The Academy Manufacturer, where you create one of every one of them. But Paragon Took. That's another one from the Lord of the Rings set. And then it has the ability you can tap one in a blue and tap it. Create a token that's a copy of target artifact token you control. So you just make tokens. A card like this would go great in Bruvac decks, Adrix and Nev, where you're already making tokens, where it could be a token of anything. So many different decks this could go in. The possibilities are pretty much endless. Uh, this would actually go great in Art Affinity. This would go great in a kind of like a modern, more janky modern Affinity deck, where if you would play this and you have your Urza Saga out, you now create a map token and the Golem, which is pretty cool. I mean, this should be like a sideboard thing or something, but I feel like this could maybe see some modern play. And if I'm wrong, I mean, I'm just wrong. I'm a modern novice compared to, the big wigs up, all the way up there in the Pro Tours and stuff, or the championship players. But, that's just my opinion, and I have a right to that. But it doesn't matter because I'm just doing this for the fun of it. Rush of Dread for 1 generic and 2 black. It is a sorcery with Spree. You may choose 1 or more additional costs. Well, if you tack on 1, target opponent sacrifices half the creatures they control, rounded up. You tack on 2, target opponent discards half the cards in their hand, rounded up. And tack on another 2, its target opponent loses half of their life, rounded up. This is just a ending, like, this is the last spell you see when a Lord Xander player in Commander sacrifices their commander. Oh, well, you're discarding your hand, you're doing all this. Well, with that on the stack, you could probably find a way to get them to pretty much no cards in hand. Because, like, if I don't know, they'd still have a hand, but they wouldn't have barely any creatures or anything in hand. But yeah, this would be pretty brutal in a Lord Xander deck. So I can see this fitting in there. Calamity Galloping Inferno. For 4 generic and 2 red, it's a 4/6 legendary creature horse mount. It has haste. The horse tribal is growing bigger. And it doesn't even look like it needs a human because it can just make up a flame Atronach that's a little point at people that played Skyrim or any of the Elder Scrolls games. And it just rides with him. Whenever it attacks while saddled, choose a non-legendary creature that saddled it this turn. Create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of it. Wow, that's pretty wild. Sacrifice that token at the beginning of the next end step. Repeat this process once. So if it attacked once, you only get it once. But if you attacked multiple times with it, you only get the ability once. But for 6 mana, 4/6 is not bad with, copying on a body, which is pretty cool. And now for our last spoiler we're just going to be talking about. This is the Omen Path Journey. For 3 generic and a green, when Omen Path Journey enters the battlefield, you may search your library for up to 5 land cards that have different names. Exile them, then shuffle. At the beginning of your end step, choose a card at random, exile with Omen Path Journey, and put it into the battlefield tapped. This kind of reminds me of something. We'll circle back to this one later. But now I want to talk about some of the spells that we're getting that kind of remind me of something else. So, let's go on ahead and move into our comparisons. Starting off, we have Return the Favor for 2 generic, 2 red, my bad. It's an instant with Spree. And for one, if you add one generic to it, you can copy target instant spell or sorcery spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. You may choose new targets for the copy, or you can change the target of a target spell with an ability with a single target. Do you know what this card reminds me of? I feel like this is gonna be a more budget friendly, but at the same time, it's also gonna be kind of up there with deflecting SWAT. Now, yes, you do have to pay the 4 mana to do all the things, or you could pay 3 mana to do just to change the target. But being able to change the target and copy it is amazing. That's like a redirect and you get a copy with it. I mean, who doesn't like something like that? But if you're a budget brewer, you will also know Bolt Bend does the exact same thing, but for 1 red mana. Which I'm not going to lie, this has probably been one of the best budget cards I've ever put my money in, because everybody always expects the deflecting SWAT. They never expect the second deflecting SWAT for 1 red, which is just so amazing. And now we're going to look at Memory Vessel. For 3 generic and 2 red, this is an artifact. You can tap it, exile Memory Vessel. Each player exiles the top 7 cards of their library. Until your next turn, players may play cards they exiled this way, and they can't play cards from their hand. Activate only as a sorcery. And now, this is going to sound really rude, but this is so unoriginal and so much worse than what we've had multiple times in the past. For example, Mangara's Tome for 5 generic mana, so you can put this in any deck. When Mangara's Tome comes into play, search your library and choose any 5 cards. This is a 5 mana tutor for 5. Shuffle those cards and put them face down under Mangara's Tome. Shuffle your library afterwards. Just search and shuffle. If you lose control of Mangara's Tome, remove all cards under it from the game. For 2 mana, you can, instead of drawing a card, you put the top card from under Mangara's Tome into your hand. So you choose the 5, search your library for 5 cards, shuffle these cards and put them face down, and then you shuffle your library. And then whenever you would draw, like for an opt, you can pay pretty much 1 blue and 2 generic, which is 3 mana, for a tutor. And it's amazing. We also have Parallel Thoughts, which is also 5 mana, but for 3 and 2 blue instead. But this is an enchantment. When it comes into place, search your library for 7 cards, remove them from the game in a face down pile, and shuffle that pile, then shuffle your library. If you would draw a card, you may instead put the top card of the pile you removed into your hand. So this is just going to be a shuffle and you get what you get. But this one is for 7 cards for 5 mana. Now, I will say, yes, the Memory Vessel is better because it's, you can play it, you can tap it and sack it, exile it as soon as it comes into play. But you only have those cards for 1 turn. Because, if you're playing, it's a late game card. If you're wanting to play cards that do that kind of thing in like a impulse, then yeah, that's fine. That'll be great in like a Prosper deck, because guess what? You want to play from exile anyway. But if you're looking to play a longer game, and if you can protect this, and there's not a lot of enchantment or artifact removal in your pods, I would swing for these. And these are probably going to be, if not the same price or less than Memory Vessel. But then again, Mangara's Tome, I think, is actually on the reserve list. Let me know down in the comments below if you know if Mangara's Tome is on the reserve list. But we're going to move on from the Memory Vessel And we're going to look at Molten Duplication. For one generic and a red, this is a sorcery. Create a token that's a copy of target artifact or creature you control, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. It gains haste until end of turn, and you sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So what does this remind you guys of? I'm going to tell you what it made me think of. It made me think of Twin Flame. And then I thought about my Chainer deck that I run Dualcaster Mage in. Yeah, this will if I can get a copy of it, this is probably going to replace my copy of Heat Shimmer, because I also run Ad Nauseum in that deck, and that's actually kind of, yeah, that's kind of me. That's kind of messed up. But if you didn't know, Heat Shimmer is a sorcery for 2 and a red, so Molten Duplication is already 1 cheaper, which is great in a more synergistic, wanting to try and get a win as fast as you can out of it deck. Create a token that's a copy of target creature. Oh, look, it says the same thing, except it has haste. It says the same thing, and at the beginning of the next end step, exile this permanent. It says the same thing. It's just a little bit cheaper. But that's going to be it for today, everybody. I really appreciate everybody that has helped me get to where I am today, and I just can't tell you guys how much I appreciate how far we've come. The horde is steadily growing stronger and stronger. But that is going to be it for today. I know I kind of skipped like 2 weeks on the digging up the past, but they're coming back. We're bringing them back up. I just got to figure out what creature type I want to cover next. Do I want a small one? Do I want a one shot, or do I want another big series? But I want to leave that up to you guys. If you watch this long, I am going to post a poll sometime on Friday to see if we can get enough votes on a creature type, whether it be a small tribe or a big tribe. But that is going to be it for today, everybody. And I will see you guys next time in the graveyard.